Honestly, like if you're talking about the blonde one, she has a fat ass.
Yeah, that's why I just walk right up and I just fuck her right in the ass. Not even asking. You just walk right up and do it. Right
All right,
in public.
we're going live here. Okay, what is up, people? That was completely planned. There's no rape going on here. This is a comedy show. What is up, people who watch our podcast? I don't know who. Today we're going to do
All two
an
of you.
analysis, a type of
Hi,
analysis,
Tim.
more of a discussion on the presidential debate. As most of you know, this will be completely unbiased, as all of our videos are. Yeah. See, Prefix there is a fairly unbiased individual.
Oh, I better turn this around. Wouldn't want to get the wrong idea.
There you go. All right. So it's no secret we're Trump supporters, but we'll try to stay as fair as possible. Excuse me. We won't like make up any lies. You can look up all our shit yourself. Let's get right into it. Prefix.
So, when they started off the debate, like the first question after like the opener they asked them is about the Trump tape. For those of you who don't know, a tape leaked out, which was kind of what our opening skit was about, and like Trump was talking. I think it's on a golf course. I'm not sure where it was. I'm assuming golf course. It seems like it with Billy Bush, who I believe is the cousin of Jeb Bush.
That was it was on his like his bus on the stage of some show they were
Oh, was
filming.
it?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't like on a show. It was just like him talking in the
It
background.
was he was mic'd up and like he was talking and the mic was hot, so they caught that, but it was like this wasn't part of the show. It was like backstage on Billy's bus.
Yeah, and they were just discussing about a couple things. One of the things Trump mentioned was like that like you know when you're like a rich celebrity with like the like beautiful women who follow you around, you can just like walk right up and like kiss them and like you can do pretty much anything. They don't care. They love it. You can grab them by the pussy. And then the other part of the statement
Big
was,
part is after he said you can grab him by the pussy, they let you do it.
yeah,
That's not sexual assault.
he said they'll let you do it, which in the debate, Anderson Cooper was like, you have admitted to sexually assaulting women. Did you not? And then Trump's like, no. Or I said, and Anderson Cooper kept interrupting him while
Well,
he was
first of
trying to
all,
explain.
I highly doubt like this even happened. It might have, but this is
Yeah,
something that guys do when guys are alone. They'll talk about women. They'll talk about fucking disgusting things. I wouldn't have apologized for this. This is ridiculous that he
yeah.
apologized, and I'm disappointed. But
Also, I want to say also, even though Trump apologized while talking about that, Hillary Clinton also, in a reference to that, just said like, and Trump never apologizes about things.
yep,
While talking about the one thing he did apologize for.
I don't think he should have apologized. That's fucking. It's just guy talk, locker room talk, as he said. It's not like malicious or anything. It's
You know,
just like some joke.
people just talk about like, oh, this chick would do anything, and they're
Rape
doing
jokes
that.
are funny, people. They're funny. Accept it.
And then the other part of the thing, he was talking about some chick that was like married, and then he was talking about like he was trying to, he was flirting with her and trying to get with her, and then said like, oh, but she was married, and then there's some words you can't really make out. It's he said something like she's married, and then Trump responded like something you can't hear, and then he's like, oh yeah, but we found that out. It seems like he was probably saying like he might not have known she was married, or maybe he found out she was married during. I don't know, but so that woman in the podcast though, or in the I don't know why I said podcast in the video that he was talking about, a year after this, or maybe the same year, 2005, I think it was. She's on an interview talking about how she flirted with Trump and how he was so cute and charming, and that she was like really into him. Like the same woman, 9/11 followers, nice.
All right, go ahead.
So, like she was talking about how she was flirting with Trump, and she was totally into it. It's like everybody's saying like, oh, he's trying to hit on a married woman and stuff. Like, she was saying on a interview on a popular I don't know what it was called, but it was like one of those entertainment things where like people just gossip about stupid shit. And she was just talking about how she was flirting with Trump and stuff, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's cool. He's a rich billionaire who's successful." And then she was like, "Yeah, he's so cute and charming, and he's super tall. He's like 6'4" or something. I don't remember the whole thing, but like, so that woman like clearly was like somewhat interested in Trump, but she was probably just doing some flirting because she was married, wasn't going to do anything. And what's notable in that though is that Trump said like later when I ran into her, she had fake breasts and stuff. So what you hear about this is that clearly this happened a while ago. Now I mentioned this because people were trying to say, oh, Trump's trying to hit on women and trying to flirt them while he was married to Melania or something, because some people are speculating that this happened right after he was married to Melania. But he's mentioning that this happened in the past because he even ran into her more recently and that she has fake breasts. So we don't know when the event happened. We just know when he talked about it. Now, I talk about stories from years ago.
This isn't a confirmation that he wasn't married to Melania at the time. He could have been, but it's also it's doubt that it was. There's a case to be made both ways. There's nothing for certain.
Yeah. Also, I'm not even sure if he was actually trying to fuck her because men will talk somewhat and like exaggerate about like how easy they could get with women and stuff, or exaggerate about how far they were gonna go with a woman. Like men just talk about stuff like that, and they kind of play up a little bit, like, oh yeah, I was trying to get with her. But in reality, who knows? Maybe they just talked a little bit, and they probably did flirt. Probably don't know, but she was married at the time, it seems, though. But it's unknown if Trump was. If somebody could like Google figure out when she got married, we could figure out it was between 2005 and then.
I just find it ridiculous that people are taking this as like concrete fact that he cheated on his wife. It's locker
But he
room.
didn't even cheat in the story.
Yeah, he didn't
Like,
cheat in the story.
Like he's like somewhat tried to in the story.
He's making up stories. Maybe they're true. I don't know. It's just not responsible to say that they are true. I've made up stories all the time or even like said true stories and embellished them a bit just to make them a little more exciting. I didn't tackle that bank robber. I saw him and said, "Hey, sir, there's a camera up there. You might want to leave." But I was a hero that day. It was my big moment there. It's just a thing guys do where we embellish stories, make them up a little bit, talk shit to our friends, talk ourselves up. I bench press 50 pounds more than I actually do. That's just that kind of thing. All right, you have anything else you want to say on that topic?
So at the beginning of the debate, Hillary refused to shake hands with Trump, and then Anderson Cooper has a pre-prepared question about that. I just thought that was like a little thing. He like goes into a thing, which for anybody who doesn't know, Anderson Cooper is literally part of Hillary Clinton's campaign. Like he's like an unofficial like head of her campaign. He's basically her campaign manager. He's done more for her campaign than her actual campaign manager.
A person who actually is a part of Hillary's campaign is John Oliver. It's been shown that he was offered a position on her team. They offered to pay him. I'm not sure if he accepted or not, but there's little seeds of doubt there.
I'm sure even if they didn't pay him, if they just like offered the thing, that would be influencing him.
Yeah.
Just because he could be like, oh, they're trying to hire me. Maybe I should, just do a few things they might like, even if they don't pay him. I'm not sure if they did or didn't pay him, but we do have the leaked emails about that. What was the next thing? Oh yeah,
we kind of got into already.
Yeah, we kind of went into it, but I do want to mention that how they're just calling it locker room talk and shit. I want to mention it was at the end of the debate, so it's kind of a right after the debate, the people like CNN and stuff were like, "Oh, this debate was supposed to be presidential," but there was all this like bad talk about all these locker room things. When they brought that up, like they were trying to like make it seem like, oh, Trump's bringing these things up, talking vulgar things on the debate stage. It was like after the debate was over, right after the people ended. For those who like turned off right then, you probably didn't see it. I was watching on CNN, so they were just talking about all this unpresidential talk.
You wanna? I want to talk about like the overall performance of like the moderators and shit. You want to do that at the end, or do you want to do it now?
We can just do that now.
Okay. Well, I honestly thought it was pretty terrible. I know Prefix didn't think it was that bad, but I expect more from a town hall format. I was thinking they were gonna go in, have like conversations back and forths instead of just like 30 seconds to talk, 30 seconds to respond, 30-second question. I thought they were gonna have more of a back and forth, more speaking with each other. Trump tried to do that a lot, but then he was cut off by Anderson Cooper and Martha Raddatz.
And Hillary kept doing it to him, but then when Trump would like respond to something, like she would just be like, and Trump is a confirmed rapist, murdering psychopath. And then Trump will be like, actually, I'm not a confirmed. Whoa, Trump, Trump, Trump. Whoa, this isn't your time to talk. He's like, well, she's kind of mentioning things. Can't I attack her back? They're like, no, no, no. Hillary, please go on. Well, why is Trump evil?
What was the point? You could have had easily people like send in their questions and just like open letters and read questions out of them if you wanted to.
Well, they did bring a few questions that like were those that they're like, here are some things people were asking online. They also blatantly lied about the locker room talk tape thing, that they were trying to say that was the most like talked about thing on social media, because while that was trending, WikiLeaks had like I remember like looking on Twitter, WikiLeaks was like over 1 million things, and the locker room tape thing had like 100,000. I don't know what the peaks of each of those were, but I know when I looked at it, WikiLeaks had like 10 times that, and that was about Hillary's transcripts, because those got leaked about the same time. So maybe there was a short time where the thing was on top, but they tried to make it seem like this was the biggest thing that everybody's talking about, when in reality, the only people who've really been talking about it is just like CNN.
Here's a Breitbart article I found that the moderators actually interrupted Trump 26 times, which is twice as much as they did Clinton.
I found Frank Luntz said at the halftime that there were 14 interruptions for Trump and 2 for Hillary at the halftime. I know they interrupted Hillary a couple times in the second half, more than that. So what was the Breitbart total?
The Breitbart total was they interrupted Trump 26 times and interrupted Hillary Clinton 12 times.
So they interrupted Clinton 10 times in the second half, if the Luntz thing is correct, and Trump, they interrupted him 12 in the second half, if you said 26. And the first half was 14-2. Like, they didn't interrupt Hillary at all. And Trump kept calling them in the first half. He's like, you're interrupting me. You're not. And when they were interrupting Hillary, it was more to just say, like, we're going to move on to the next question. Trump would be answering a question. They'd be, like, trying to, like, change the thing during the question while he was trying to answer.
Yeah, Trump even called it out. He was when he was talking about the emails, they just tried to get him off of it as fast as they could. They didn't do any follow-up questions, even though this is fucking flies. Even though this is something that like the American people are interested in, but apparently, can't talk about this. This is a forbidden subject.
It was CNN moderators though. Like everything's been trying to censor her emails. Oh, last week, I don't know if you know who Michael Savage is. He does a Savage Nation podcast. I think it's the second most popular conservative talk show host after Rush Limbaugh. I'd need confirmation on that if it is, but I know he's one of the most. But he actually has like a radio thing that's like on networks and stuff. Like you can listen to it on the radio. And like a week or two ago, he mentioned something about Hillary's health, and the network thing that he was on just completely went down. You could still listen to it online, but all the ones like on some of the networks, like you couldn't listen to it through. You had to go through like other channels. Like they cut them down and then just claim that they had some errors, but nobody else was having errors other than just his. It's like
Here's one thing from the Breitbart article that I kind of disagree with. Uh, I'll read a little thing from it. The moderators also repeatedly berated Trump supporters for cheering and clapping during the debate. The audience needs to calm down here, Cooper said at one point, but ignoring Hillary supporters after they followed suit. Later, Cooper scolded the audience again for cheering on Trump. We want to remain the audience, not to talk out loud. Please do not applaud, he said. You're only wasting time. And I think this is kind of a bad point to make because when Hillary's audience started cheering, Trump started talking right after she finished talking, so that was right in between the applause. So I think it would have been a little counterproductive to interrupt Trump while he's talking to tell the audience to shut up.
there were a couple times where her audience was and once when they like booed Hillary, like he like told the audience to like calm down. And the thing, it wasn't so much that he was telling them to calm down. I think it was more the way he was doing it. Like you could tell he was aggravated.
He was very angry when he said it.
Like yeah, if he was just like, please calm down, audience. We're trying to have a discussion here. But he was just like, calm down, people. Like you could tell his butt hurt. And I think that's more that like it was more visible that he was telling them to, just because he was mad. And one of the big things I thought that's was gonna be memorable, but I guess it doesn't really seem so much, was when Hillary was asked about her transcripts that released recently, where she told like the banks, like, well, I'm telling the public different things than I'm gonna tell you. Like I want you guys to regulate yourself. That's why I have to have a public position and a private position. And then when they asked her about it, like she just like went into a thing about Abraham Lincoln rather than actually saying if it was true or not. Like she did two things. She blamed Russia for like the 87th time, and then she like went on to a thing about Abraham Lincoln, and Trump just went in and was just like, you're not an Abraham Lincoln or something. You're no Abe Lincoln, and it was somewhat of a it was somewhat of a thing that I think he was trying to do with the Dan Quayle debate. Who was the guy against Dan Quayle in the '88 vice president debate, where the guy said something about Jack Kennedy, and then he's just like, I served with Jack Kennedy, and I knew Jack Kennedy. He was a close friend, and you're no Jack Kennedy. And I feel like in Trump's head, he was trying to do that, like trying to.
I have no idea what you're talking about, so this is all you.
Well, it's a very popular thing from the '88 election.
I wasn't even born. I wouldn't know shit about that.
I wasn't born either, but it's like something people like reference pretty often.
We're fucking young, you know that?
We are.
All right. You got anything else to say about the moderators?
They were just like pretty much what I expected. And Anderson Cooper was like literally no different than I expected. That other like,
you're the extreme one on issues, and I'm kind of more like reserved on them. But like I think they were worse than you on this one.
I expected them to be terrible. Like that's the thing. Like the problem is like I have very low bar for like Anderson Cooper. Like if Anderson Cooper, the first thing he went on stage and said Donald Trump just murdered my cat right now, while Anderson Cooper was killing his own cat and then writing Trump in blood on the cat, I would just be like, that's what I expect from Anderson Cooper, doing something and blaming Trump.
I expected more because it was a town hall format debate. I wouldn't have. I would have thought it was whatever if this was a normal debate format. But like the town hall, I really thought they were going to be more like you know, a good conversation between two people where you can actually get into the meat of things rather than just recite 30-second clips that you memorize in the mirror for 5 hours the day before.
Speaking about the memorized things, also that's another thing that I think really helps Trump is that like people already think Hillary, you know, she's all prepared and robotic and everything. And whenever she mentions something like when I was a senator, I signed like 453 pieces of legislation. Where she says 453, I think that's a really bad thing because when you say that number, it means that you obviously had that ready to say. Where if she just said like over 400 or close to 500,
I would have just said 500.
yeah,
See,
I would have been
if
like
somebody
about
attacks you
500.
for 500, then you can come back and say, "Look how petty this media is for like assaulting me for rounding up." That's how you plan things out.
Well, that's what happened to Mitt Romney when he called the stimulus like a $855 billion failure. I mean, he called it a $1 trillion failure, and like the media was like, it was only $855 billion, not a trillion, and like it kind of backfired on them. But like
Yeah,
if
I
you
really
just
don't think it backfired on them. He didn't do a good job at like attacking that. If you
well,
would
he
have
won
come out
that
in this
debate.
debate and said like, "Oh, the media is saying like I'm a big liar because I said $1 trillion," it was really 855 billion dollars. That's a huge
He
difference
really
there.
did good at the debate and the post debate when the media was attacking him for the thing. The problem is he lost. Well, I don't know if he lost, but he did bad in the other two debates because he just thought he could coast on the lead he had and be nice. But like the thing is, like when you say an exact number like that in something like a debate, when you're Hillary, your whole thing is that like people think that you're scripted and that you're bought and paid for. Then you just go out there and then just say exactly like the exact thing. If she just said 450, it would have been so much better for her than saying like 453 or whatever the number was.
So I was watching Dexter last night with one of my friends, and there was this part. Dexter, if you don't know, the first season they make him seem kind of off, kind of like kind of weird in the series. If you're familiar with the premise, he kills bad people and he works like a blood spatter analyst and whatever. But there was a scene where like he was talking about like, I don't have emotions, so I kind of like going to court because then I can interact with all these people. And like he's on the witness stand giving like his testimony for a case. He's the blood spatter analyst, so the guy asked him like, how many cases have you done? He says like exactly like 2,453, and the guy's like, give or take, no, 2,453. And I just thought that was kind of relevant here.
It is. Well, somebody for like if you're trying to show somebody like somebody's knowledge in a field like that, like you're trying to show that he's smart and he knows what he's doing. You want the exact number, but in a
Well, that's still
political
kind of
thing,
weird, like that you know that number off the top of your head.
that is weird. But in a political thing, you're trying to show that like you're just like talking to like people and not just memorizing things that you're like people tell you to say.
Well, here's my big thing. We have to dispel with this notion that Hillary Clinton doesn't know what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing.
Yeah.
All right, you want to move on to the next one? This one.
This was something that I thought Trump really did bad in, and I was a little bit disappointed because I feel like he could have easily just.
Well, I think the moderators interrupted him a lot during this.
They did, but
they didn't let him get to his point.
Yeah, and because he had like a minute to answer like a question that he's trying to like. They're like, explain your entire foreign policy. You have 8 seconds. Go, Armin. Like it's hard to.
Shoot
Time's
the
up.
ones that come in. Anyone who's different colors, shoot them.
So they asked the question like, how do you solve the terrorism problem while making Muslims feel comfortable? And Trump just talked about like making like solving the terrorism problem. Like she was, the woman was like Muslim or something. She said like, how do you stop people from like being Islamophobic against me or whatever? I don't remember what she said, something like that. And he got into like the foreign policy thing because like here's the issue with Trump. He's thinking that people care about the policy when voters are stupid. They don't give a shit about policy. Like the debates wouldn't mean anything if people cared about policy because they would have looked up the policies of the people and just figured out who they want.
Just go to isidewith.com or fucking what's the other one? ontheissues.com. Those
They're
are
like literally anything.
Like that's what you do for
the
policy.
debate is just for like stupid people to be like, that guy's a guy I want to have a beer with, or that person's Hitler. I don't want to vote for them. Like that's literally what debates are for. So like Trump gets into the thing and he's trying to answer like the policy thing about like here's how we like try to do it. But what he could have just easily said was like, well, one thing about solving the terrorism problem is if we're having less terrorism, less people will feel inclined to believe Muslims are dangerous. If we can just show them that Muslims will be safe and good for us, we just need to make sure that we're not letting in bad people from these other nations go and commit crimes. So if we can encourage the Muslims to want to come forward and like talk to other people, because many Muslims feel like if they report another Muslim, then they might be profiled as well as working with this person. So many of them aren't coming forward to the FBI, and obviously that's a complete pandering thing to do because that's not true. Like Muslims are fucking shit at everything. They will not like report another Muslim for doing a crime, like unless they're like the people who like don't really care. But any like devout Muslim is not gonna go and attack like another Muslim person and say like, hey, this guy's gonna bomb this shit. Because most of the devout Muslims, even in America and in Europe, you like look at the statistics, most of them will support the terrorist attack. They'll openly admit to you about that. Like they do polls. It's like, oh, 45% of them say they support ISIS and shit. Like they'll support
It's
it.
a good time to mention the video that Ben Shapiro did, the myth of the radical Muslim minority.
Yeah. Because
I thought that was a pretty
while
good
it is true, it's a minority of the people who commit the crimes, many of the people will support those who commit them.
Yeah, that's pretty much just as bad.
Yeah, because like they're not going to report and the biggest problem about things like terrorism is that a lot of terrorist attacks that get stopped, they get stopped because people report the crimes like in their own community, and most people hang out with people similar to themselves. Like one problem black communities have with crime is that if you're black and you live in a black inner city, you can shoot somebody in the center of the street, and that person's family won't even call the cops on you. Like
I thought,
they don't like to talk to cops.
I thought Luke Cage did a pretty good job at like portraying that. Like where there's this scene where this guy like straight up is in a stretcher because he got shot by someone, and he's not saying who did it because he doesn't want to rat on them.
Yeah, like that happens in areas like blacks and Muslims have huge issues with not wanting to talk to like police and stuff, and that's like a huge problem. Like inner cities get fucked over by crime worse than they would be if they like actually just talk to police. But like they have this like thing where oh you can't talk to cops because they're gonna shoot you and murder you if you talk to one. And like some black people actually believe that if they go and talk to a cop, the cop is gonna blame them for something. They think that all cops are racist.
That's not strictly true. A lot of it is because like there's some intimidation by like the other people around them. Like they think if they snitch, they're just gonna get shot in the back of the head. Yeah.
But a lot of it is also they just think that the police won't believe them. Like that, there's two things there. Like I think it would be a bit better if people could actually just go talk to the cops in those areas. But like Muslims are really bad about talking to the cops because you see all these things, and like the people, the family members will even like know about the stuff, and like they won't report it. And then even if they somehow do report it, that like fucking Obama's like Justice Department's gonna go and harass the cops if they look at a Muslim. And they're like, oh, you can't do that. That's discrimination and profiling. And profiling's wrong. No, profiling is not wrong. Anybody who thinks profiling is wrong is a retard. If I'm looking for a terrorist, or like somebody says somebody has a bomb on a plane, and I look on the plane and I see a guy in a turban, and then I see like an 80-year-old black woman, I'm gonna assume the guy in the turban is the person with a bomb, not the 80-year-old black woman.
You'd be right most of the time.
Now, if some white woman who's cheating on her husband goes missing on a fishing trip, I'm gonna assume person who murdered her was a white guy because that's like a white thing. Like that's how white people murder somebody. They kill their wife on a fishing trip.
But a lot of like crime is perpetrated by people who are in their own community because like you do the crime on people you're around.
Yeah.
So if a white person dies and they don't live in a black neighborhood, you're probably going to assume white people did it.
Yeah,
and probably be correct. Like most black people don't like hop in their Lincoln Town cars, drive down to the suburbs or the nice neighborhoods, and then pick a random house and shoot someone inside of it.
And like even when it is cross racial, like you can tell how the things happen. Like, if some white woman dies getting shot in the middle of the street during a drive-by, you're gonna assume the person who shot her is probably Hispanic or black. But if she gets shot by her husband, or she gets shot or killed by her husband on a fishing trip, her husband's probably white. Like, you don't even need to see the picture of her husband to know that. But if she gets shot by her husband during a drug deal, maybe he wasn't white.
Yeah, kinda.
What's the difference between white drug deals and black drug deals? Also,
Yeah, sometimes, but
like black drug deals will just be like, we're just gonna deal drugs in the middle of like this street while having guns out in the open.
yeah, white people are a lot more likely to like deal and do drugs indoors, which is why they don't get arrested for it as much.
Yeah, while blacks do them outside much more often. Like,
Mm.
white people are super paranoid about like crime and stuff. Like, they try to like go over the top. Like, like here's like a white person. They have like a gram of marijuana in their like pocket or something. A cop car drives by, flush everything down the toilet, destroy the house, set the house on fire.
Pretty
And
much.
then here's what happens: like a black person holding a joint in the middle of the street. Cop car goes up, lights it up, waves to the cop, flips him off.
Pulls
Like,
out his
there's a little
gun,
bit of difference
shooting in the
there.
air.
What?
Pulls out his gun, starts shooting in the air,
Yeah.
sideways.
Yep, sideways in the air. Like,
Something similar to this. I know you don't drive, but like, you know what I hate? I hate when I like pull up next to a cop or like drive by a cop and I like know he's like looking for people who are speeding. You know, I'm going 40 and a 35. What do? Do I slow down to 35? Do I make it seem like, oh, I didn't notice you? I was just going like 38. You know, just casually. I don't know what to do. So I just normally like don't do anything and go the speed I was going unless I'm going like 400 in a 300.
in a 300.
300.
That's a pretty fast lane.
Yeah, I you know take a rocket to work. All right. So
About that, the proper thing is to like slow down to 37 slowly. So then you're only 2 miles over the speed limit.
see, I don't really just stay at over 5 because nobody like cares if you're over 5. All right. Move on to this one here.
Uh, yeah, so this I guess was rated as like one of like the best exchanges for Trump from Mark Luntz's like Twitter thing where he has all those like
I
little
fucking
graphics.
loved it. That was great.
Yeah, I thought it was great. So Trump was attacking Hillary about like the emails and stuff, and said like he'd appoint he'd appoint a special prosecutor against Hillary if he was president or something. Which obviously he wouldn't actually do. Like the chance of him actually doing that is probably minuscule, but I'm sure he'd like to do it.
He would. I think he would.
Well, the problem is if you do that, then people would be like, he's trying to jail his political opponents. Like the optics of it would look bad.
I don't think Trump cares.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't care, but I feel like his party would be like, Trump, you can't do that. Like we have Congress like campaigns we're running. You can't just do that.
I think he'd honestly just say like, you know, the people in the Republican Party are telling me not to do this, but you know what? I like this country a lot more than I like this job, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. People who commit crimes can't go off just because they're politicians.
The biggest problem is the American voters wouldn't even care. The problem is that like all the fucking GOP people would go up and stand up and say how they can't be a part of this system and how they're not going to support this Republican nominee. And they all
Do you
fucking
think that bothers Trump? Tell me honestly, do you think that bothers him?
It doesn't bother him, but it would hurt Republicans in Congress, and that might hurt Trump. Like, because Trump does kind of need Republicans to get shit passed. Because you know that Democrats are going to try to block Trump more than anything. Like, if Trump's just like, we didn't like get this bill to stop murdering baby kittens, Democrats will be trying to block that. They'll be fucking even filibustering everything. Like, I actually think that it's gonna be like the worst, and it's gonna be great because they're gonna like look like complete retards on the worst thing. So then after that exchange, then like Hillary Clinton just like, well, I think it's good we don't live in a world where like you get to like set the rules and set up like what's happening with the justice system, and then Trump's like, you'd be in jail, and like the crowd like erupted and went crazy.
That was a fucking great speech. Well, not a speech. That was a great like sound clip. I think we should have that on our soundboard. We should make a soundboard with just that clip on there.
Yeah. Also, that was another one of the things where Hillary attacked Russia for like the 800th time. In fact, I think it'd be easier to make a list of questions that Hillary didn't blame Putin for.
But Tim Kaine was all about Trump's taxes, and Hillary Clinton is all about Russia.
Yep. I also think it's pretty it's pretty great that like in one of the things she was talking about how she made great strides to improve relationships with Russia, and then like 3 minutes before that and like 1 minute after that she was attacking Russia. I wish Trump also would have mentioned like you're saying like you disarmed Russia, you gave them 20% of our uranium, you disarmed us, not Russia. They didn't get rid of their nuclear weapons. We did. There's a difference between this. Like she calls this a treaty and this agreement to disarm both of us, when the agreement was we disarm us and they don't do anything. That was like what the agreement was. Also, why does America and Russia need to be disarmed? We're like the only two countries which would never actually use like nuclear weapons, except like in a case where it would actually be like completely necessary. Like whatever you think about Russia, like Russia's actually pretty like not retarded about shit. Like they're probably less retarded than we are, especially lately. Like you look at their Middle East stuff, you have like Obama just like, oops, we accidentally bombed the Syrian army the day after we made a peace treaty with them. Our bad.
I think Putin is actually a great leader, and I think it's kind of shitty that Trump can't say that without being fucking attacked, saying like, oh, I think Russia's better than America.
He said like Putin's a strong leader, and that turns into like Trump is praising the mass murdering psychopath Putin, who literally murders everyone. And like I don't even see evidence of like Putin murdering anything other than one possible thing where like this person that was like a spy or something that was like Russian and he defected to like Britain or something. And there's some evidence there that Putin may have gotten him killed, like
I was
poisoned.
gonna mention that. Like that's pretty obviously Putin, or at least
It probably
Russia.
was, but like something like that, I could honestly like I don't really I think that he kind of has good reason that like some guy in your fucking country goes and like takes your secrets and gives it to a foreign country. Are you supposed to just let that happen? Like that in American shit, we would just like, oh, shit happens.
Yeah, Putin. I'm pretty sure he's killed a few people.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's killed more
I
than
don't
a
think
few
he's
people.
squeaky clean. I don't think he.
I don't think he's squeaky clean, but what they make it seem like is that everybody who opposes him dies. Like there was that Boris Nemtsov, I think it was that got killed a couple years ago, and then everybody was screaming. He spoke out against Putin, and then got killed. And everybody knows that this must have been Putin. And for those who don't know, this guy was a Jew who was very high up during this other Jew that was very unpopular in Russia. That like actually had protests because they kind of fucked the economy and like gave a bunch of like shit in favor of Israel while fucking their economy over. So a lot of people in Russia kind of hate Jews over there. Not like everybody, but there's a sizable portion who did. And there's actually like if you go on Wikipedia and look at like the page of that guy, there's people holding up signs that says "Make soap out of Zionists" for like the guy that he was a part of the guy's cabinet for. So like there were clearly people who hated that guy. It wasn't just Putin. And then it turns out one of the people who murdered the guy was a Muslim. So I'm just gonna say a Muslim murdering a Jew who kind of fucked over Russia to give a bunch of money to Jews. I kind of feel like that might not have been Putin. I feel like maybe a Muslim killing a Jew isn't the craziest thing in the world. I think Muslims and Jews do kill each other an awful lot.
All right, you want to hit the Frank Luntz focus group, and then we can end
Okay.
it with the last thing we have up here.
So you want to just open up his Twitter page and scroll a few things while I go over them?
Yeah, give me a sec. Fuck, I hate Google Docs.
So Frank once did some different polls and stuff with his focus group about the Trump thing. He does like a bunch of those fancy charts that show like up and down and shit. So his group says Donald Trump won the debate, and here's some of the stuff that was over it. Frank once was basically saying he thought Trump was done recently, but now he's saying Trump might have done. Apparently, oh yeah, Frank Luntz talks right here. The pundits are saying Trump's special prosecutor line was the worst, but the people are saying it's the best, and like shows like charts and stuff. So scroll down a little bit, and it show like how the things go down to like the numbers and charts. So there was the halftime interruption thing. At the halftime, they interrupted Trump 14 and Clinton 2. And if you scroll down, he's got like different things about who was saying. God, he has so many posts. Well, here's some of the posts that I highlighted. I didn't copy the links. I just linked this page. But at the halftime, 17 were saying Trump was winning, 4 were saying Hillary, and 9 were saying they were tied. And then at the end, 21 said Trump and 9 said Clinton. Before the debate, people who are you going to vote for? 8 said Hillary and 9 said Trump. Then after the debate, only 4 were for Hillary and 18 were for Trump. So of like the 30-something people they had, half of the Hillary supporters dropped out of being Hillary supporters, and Trump got double what he got. So this was a pretty big thing there. And who had a positive, who had a greater positive impact on your voting choice tonight? 21 said Trump, 9 said Clinton, and he's just got a few things like that like clearly Trump was doing pretty good in this debate. I thought this one was pretty obvious that Trump won. Well, I think Hillary did a lot better than her Vice President Kane's debate. I think Trump did.
Oh, Kane was the worst person ever. Honestly, I think she would have done better if she would have just like fired him there.
Yeah, honestly, she would have. But I think Trump actually did better than Pence, but Pence won his by more because Kane was literally retarded.
You wanna play this video here?
Yeah, play that video there.
Quick thing. This is like the red line is Trump supporters, the yellow line is undecided, and the green line is Clinton supporters. They're just like saying how favorable they think this part of the debate is. So like it doesn't mean like they like Trump or Hillary more depending on the lines. It just means this is like the demographic of people who like what he's saying right now. All right, I'll go ahead and play this.
Is this a closing statement?
Yeah, this is a closing statement. Frank Luntz says this was on point.
She's a fighter. Much of what she's signing for. I do disagree with rejection in many cases. But she does fight hard and she doesn't quit and she doesn't give up. And I consider that to be a very good person.
So that was just basically
skyrocketed up there.
Yeah, he didn't. Here's what he says: concise, sincere, and didn't try to segue into a stump speech. He didn't try to like turn this into like a she's great and all, but I'm better. He just like gave her a compliment. He said, I don't always agree with her, but she never gives up, which was much more sincere than what Hillary Clinton did. Hillary Clinton, she was asked to give like a positive thing about Trump. So what she did was she gave a positive thing about Trump's kids.
She didn't even give a positive thing.
You have a good wife. I like your brother. That's like that's not even a backhanded compliment. That's just a straight up insult.
Here's what she even did. She's like, well, his kids seem to be fine, despite how shit he is.
Yep.
Like, she basically like, insulted him in the compliment. Like, and the whole problem with her is that everybody thinks that she's bitchy and she's a cold, calculating bitch. And then what does she do? She just goes and be's a bitch. Like,
That's
exactly
ridiculous.
like what people think she is. Like, people expected Trump to just go there and just be like, Hillary should be in prison, or she like looks good in orange jumpsuit or something. Like, that's what people would expect Trump to say there. Honestly, that'd be a little funny. I'd probably laugh at
That would
that.
be hilarious if he said that. But no, that
Yeah,
was sincere.
yeah, but like the whole thing is just that he didn't like turn it against her, and that's what people are like. Oh, so he's nice. The media is trying to say that he's turning this into all insults when all Hillary did is insult him, like both debates. And like anytime they get into policy, she either ran out the clock or just attacked Trump.
I think what Mike Pence said is proving to be more true now than ever. The Hillary Clinton campaign is one of insults.
Yep.
This reminds me of a story. Back when I was in high school, I think it was 11th grade. I was a junior, I believe. There was one senior in our class. This was a web development class. We had a pretty cool teacher who just didn't do shit. He just let us like fucking do whatever we wanted. I actually learned quite a bit in the class, and it was a very enjoyable class. But we were put into groups, and they're completely unfunctional. Half the people were on their laptops. One person was on their phone, never talked at all. One person was like extremely hyper during the entire thing, and I was just kind of like there. So we came up with this system where like we put points on the board if you're being a dickhead or like being off topic or whatever, and like eventually like all our points went to this one kid, and like we had a punishment if you got like 5 points. You had to go down to the principal's office. But like the first time we did it, we drew that red line in the sand. Then they crossed it. Then we did nothing about it. So the points didn't matter anymore at all. And we got to the point where like we just started insulting each other during the entire thing. And our teacher told us like, what I do when one of my students is a shithead and their parents are like coming in and I have to talk to them, I give one compliment, two bad things they do. So he told us if we're gonna insult each other, we have to give one compliment first per every 2 insults. So this was actually really good at making us not insult each other because we couldn't compliment each other. And we came up with compliments like, hey, you got some pretty nice shoes on. You piece of shit. You're not doing anything. Get off your fucking phone. That's basically what we were doing. And that just reminds me of like of the Hillary Clinton compliment. It's like completely unrelated to the field, completely unrelated to what they're doing, completely insincere. That's the kind of compliment she gave him.
If she literally said, "Nah, I don't want to compliment him," it would have been less bad than the answer.
Yeah, it would have.
Because like the whole
That's
thing
what
was
we
like,
ended up
his
doing.
kids are good despite how much of a faggot he is. That's literally what she said.
Honestly,
Barely paraphrasing.
that's what we ended up doing, and it actually worked out pretty well when we didn't insult each other. We just didn't compliment each other or insult each other.
I don't like those questions where they're like, "Will you give a compliment to your opponent here? Will you hold the hands with them and sing a song?
I think it's nice.
Will you support them if they win and you don't? No, fuck that person. They're a shithead. I want to win. That's why I'm running. I'm not just gonna say I lost, so that's that they won. That's the end of it. No, I would still just speak out and be like, yeah, I'm gonna keep speaking out about shit. Fuck them. She's a bitch. She's terrible. Every one of her policies is bad, and she's like completely corrupt. But
Yeah.
you can't say that in a debate. You'd have to just be like, well, I think the American voters can decide who they want to vote for. I think I'm a much better choice than she is, and she probably thinks she's a better choice than I am. So I guess the voters are going to decide. That's what you have to say.
Your conscience.
Yep.
All right. Is that all we have?
Well, I want to talk about all the Ted Cruz after just coming out supporting Trump for the past few days. Now has like made like 3 statements now against this tape and about how Trump's so bad. And then like Shafitz, who he's very good on the committee like for the emails with Hillary, but he's a complete cuck with the rest of politics. He's coming out and like talking about how bad Trump is. Paul Ryan's going out giving speeches about how bad Trump is. And all of these people who are doing these things, like coming out and like renouncing Trump, they haven't even supported him. So why are they going out and renouncing him? Like, if they endorsed him and then he like murdered a person, then they could be like, yeah, I supported this guy, but now I think he's a little bit of an asshole. But no, they're just going out there and just being like, I don't like Trump. I haven't liked Trump at all. I'm gonna revoke my endorsement that I didn't give.
Prefix, I think you'll like this this image that I found. Give me a sec. This is the guy who like asked them to compliment each other at the end. It says, anyone who's too lazy to read, it says, sweating. What steps will you take towards repealing the unconstitutional laws relating to the age of consent?
And also, well, you know, for those who are saying about we may be a little bit racist. See, that guy's a white guy that looks like a pedophile, and that's like a white people that are like that look like that are pretty. I'm pretty sure they're more likely to be pedophiles than like black people or
I
shit.
guarantee it. I guarantee they are.
I'm not sure the actual pedophile rate, but like when a guy looks like that, you can tell he's a pedophile.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I think that would pass in court. Just say, look at him. He looks like a
Like
pedophile.
in court, that's definitely like enough. Or if he was just black, you wouldn't even you'd have to get actual evidence. You could be like, yeah, he doesn't look like a pedophile. Like he's not like he's not like a 45-year-old white guy that's like bald head with like a weird mustache and like a weird face that's constantly
Yeah,
sweating.
that one was fucking good. Thank you, Anon, for that. All right. Do we have anything else? We're past our little list. I think that's it.
Oh, Trump did actually talk about how like just take out Assad, like arming ISIS to take out Assad is a bad idea. Like he mentioned, like if we just give weapons to the rebels, often the rebels are worse than the guy we're taking out. Like if we're gonna take people out, we have to like make sure we do things properly. And first, we have to take out ISIS because if you give weapons to ISIS to take out Assad, then ISIS has more power. And whatever you think about Assad, he's less bad than ISIS, and he's fighting ISIS.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's just what happens. We give money to the rebels and give guns to the rebels, and they take over. Then we give guns to the rebels who are against those rebels because those rebels turned out to be tyrants, and then those guys take over, and then we give money, and so on and so on and so on, and it's just a fucking vicious cycle, and we have to stop giving money to these people and fucking nuke them into the ground. Thank you! This has been the Legends and Lies videocast, unless Prefix wants anything else to say.
I guess I could say one more thing.
All right, go ahead.
That I want Trump to bring up that Hillary Clinton's thing against Gaddafi is actually what caused the refugee crisis. Because, like, for those who don't know, like, more of the stuff leaked out recently that Gaddafi actually was trying to get peace treaties with America and Europe and shit. And Hillary Clinton, who was Secretary of State at the time, was saying, no, like, we want you removed. Like, he's even gone to like the United Nations and stuff before like he was killed by Hillary Clinton and was like saying like you know there's gonna be a huge problem with like these refugees and shit. Like I'm keeping shit at bay. Yeah, Gaddafi is a fucking mass murderer. He was killing a lot of people, but he was at least having control of his thing because now there's just mass murderers that have no control. Like you can think somebody's bad, but just taking out a bad person doesn't make good things happen. Because then bad people are going to take over there because they have power, and that's the whole thing that happened. Like that, Libya was like a huge stronghold against like the whole refugee crisis. But then once Libya fell, then ISIS was just taking over everything, and now like the last stronghold they have is like Aleppo in Syria, which is like falling. Eventually, they're going to get that, and if we're just keeping assholes like we are right now, we're going to let Assad fall. Like we're kicking Russia out of Syria and we're bombing Syria while ISIS is killing like Assad in Syria. So ISIS is gonna take over Syria. Then we're gonna have a bigger refugee crisis, and then liberals are gonna get more like elections because they're gonna have more Muslims to vote for them. So they're gonna be happy about destabilizing more countries.
And, you know, I never heard of any clown problems before we had this refugee crisis. So I'd argue that's a pretty bad thing.
Yep. I think that a lot of the clown stuff is getting exaggerated. Like, there's probably been like a couple cases, and then all the other ones are getting made up just because people are trying to get like attention by saying that I saw it too.
Yeah, I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. People are saying like, "Oh, there's so many clowns out," or whatever, and then people will go out dressed as clowns just
Well,
to.
I think that, but I think people are exaggerating it too and just saying that they're seeing clowns when they're not. Also, some people are talking about like Stephen King's It is getting remade or something.
Complete shit. Horrible. Don't watch it. Don't give it a chance. Don't pay for it. Pirate it.
Well, a lot of people are saying that the first clown thing might have started as like a weird marketing campaign for this.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But
Because
honestly,
it might have been, you know, like
The-
two people go out dressed as clowns for something like this, and then somebody posted on Facebook, then people start freaking out, then everybody wants to copy it, and then after people are copying it, then more people want to say that they saw the clowns, so that everybody's starting to get into oh shit.
Have you seen how they remade Pennywise?
No.
He looks like a fucking monster now. He doesn't look like creepy. He looks scary. That's not what he should look
Can
like.
you bring up a picture?
Yes, I can. Give me a sec.
I'm Googling it.
My Google's slow for some reason.
The first picture that comes up, it's like all dark. You can't see anything.
I found one that's pretty all right. All right, I'll share screen
Share screen for our viewer.
for our viewer. This is him. Look, that looks too fucking scary. That's not what he should look like. He should look like a normal clown, and then like his actual character should scare you. Like let me find a picture
Just
here.
show the regular one.
Yeah. Does this look menacing to you? Like, if you didn't know what this looks like just some regular old clown. It doesn't look evil. Like, it's deceptively scary.
It's actually scarier because it looks normal. Like, if that's chasing you, it's scarier than if the one on the left is chasing you.
And then, like, I think there are parts where, like, here, I'll share this picture too. There are parts where he, like, does get scarier, but that's not his, like, assumed form. Like, this is what he normally looks like. This is what he looks like when he's, like, legitimately trying to, like, scare you based on his looks. It, like,
you know, I actually never saw that movie.
If this is this, and he doesn't normally look like this, I think I'd be fine with it, but I don't think that's what they're gonna do. Like, you wouldn't, when you see this in the sewer, you're kind of curious what's going on. But if you see, like, this in the sewer or this in the sewer, you're going to run the other way. Like, there's no inviting thing about it.
You know, I've never seen that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a good
I was
movie.
going to once, and like, I rented, my family like rented a bunch of movies once for Halloween, but they rented like 4 movies, and we watched like 2.5 of them because like we didn't start watching them till late, and that was gonna be like the fourth one or something. We got like a bunch of Stephen King movies, and then like
Great movie.
I just never watched it ever since that. Like I had one opportunity that we were going to, and then I just never did.
It really is a great movie. You should watch it.
Stephen King's also from my state.
I did know that. You know, he like saw one of his friends get hit by a train when he was a little kid.
I did not.
Yep. People say that's why he's fucked up. All right. Well, that's all we got. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Leftists and Lies. We hope to see you again on the next episode. Also, I hope you're appreciating this the amount of content that we're putting out. This is like our third video in 2 weeks. That's a pretty good amount of videos, if I do say so myself. Bye.
We'll make another one after the next podcast.
The next debate. Bye.
Next podcast.